Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Yaksha Gamer. And I'm going to do something today that I haven't done for a while. One of the features on the blog when it was just a blog, back before telly and YouTubes and everything. I used to do a thing on there called From Box to Table, where I would look at how I would put a unit together, how I would paint figures, base it, etc. And it's something I've not done for a while. I kind of felt that I'd covered most of the stuff that I wanted to, and I didn't want to repeat myself. But now the YouTubes is growing a bit. I thought I'd do some sort of live action role play of somebody painting a figure. So what I'm going to do is you'll have seen the unit or unit type that I'm building up to at the start with the little cameraman, the little Yorkshire TV cameraman next to a unit of 24 28mm gripping beast Hannibal's veterans. So that's what we're going to make up, and I'm just going to show you how I paint one figure. This particular chap here will be our model for the day, but I tend to paint in the number of figures that fits on a base. So you'll have seen in the pictures earlier on that these are 3 8-figure bases. The bases are 60mm by 60mm if you're interested in that sort of stuff, and they are based how the bloody hell I like them, because in typical Yorkshire fashion what I tend to do is I'll base stuff and I like the look of it, and then I change the rules to fit my basing. I ain't basing for anyone. So there we go. This first bit, we're going to look at preparation and equipment required. So we'll start with this chap here. He has been stuck on one of the bottle tops, just with a bit of white tack, and he has been primed or undercoated with black. I've always used black primer apart from on horses. If you've not seen the horses video, just scroll down the list of videos on this channel and you'll find my guide to painting horses with oils. So I always use a black undercoat. People have different preferences. I've always used black and I love it and I'm sticking to it. So to get him primed, what I've used is this Halford's matte. It's easy to buy than it is to say. Halford's matte black spray paint, and very popular auto repair, car repair shop in the UK. If you're from outside the UK, you won't have Halford's, but compared to specific gaming paints and sprays, this tends to be a lot cheaper, and I've actually used this for as long as I can remember, certainly since the late 1980s, and I've never been let down with it once. I think I've had one Duff can in all that time, and I get through these like water. Probably a can every month, if not more. So they're about, I think they're £8 for rather a lot, 500ml. Half a litre at Pate for £8. It's very good. It's a very grainy paint. It's very good for stuff to adhere to. It's not specifically a primer. It's just said as matte black spray paint, but I've used it as my base coat and my primer forever. So the other bits of kit that we're going to need is we're going to need a shield, and this comes from Gripping Beast. They used to do shields and weapons with the figures, and they used to do unit packs, which should be really brilliant. So Gripping Beast, if you're watching this, unit packs back please, 24 figures at once, so I don't have to bother going through and working out what I need for a unit. So there we go. This has been sprayed white, which will become the reasons for which will become obvious as we go along, and I've just used from the same store Halford's white primer to get this effect. So that's that primed. And the only thing that we're going to do with that is we're going to add some gloss varnish to it, but I'll speak about that when we come to talk about the decals. We need a spear. I always buy these from either North Star or Arcane Sceneries on the internet, and this is a 50mm spear, just to represent the weaponry that the Carthaginian veterans would use. A lot of, you notice the shield's Roman. If you look at the guy's gear, Roman chainmail shirt, greaves, a lot of captured equipment from the veterans. And the final thing that we need to put our little unit together to make life a lot easier are these bad boys, and these are Carthaginian veteran shield designs, 2-fit gripping beast miniatures from LBMS, Little Big Men Studios. Looking at the side of here, these are 15 years old now, but they are absolutely awesome. They do shield decals for a massive range of stuff from a massive range of manufacturers, and they fit, designed specifically to fit the that manufacturer's figures. They will have, each one will have a different size shield, even if it's just a couple of mil, makes a big difference, and these boys cover all of them. So that's everything that we are going to use for one figure, obviously multiplied up by to 24 for the whole unit, and we're going to go through painting this chap up, and I'll just show you my techniques. They're not right, they're not wrong, it's just how I paint, and if you can get any tips from them, then great. So we'll be back in a moment with some paint. So here we go, let's get some paint on, and you'll see our chap is joined by his 7 friends who are going to be on the base with him. We're just going to paint one figure, and then I'll come back each time I change a colour and go through the process with one guy, rather than boring you to death with all 8 of them. So as I go through, I'll talk about the colours that I'm using, but I'll put them up on the screen as text as well, just for you to have a look at. So first thing, we've got black figure, and I'm going to attack the metals on the figure first, and I have a generic undercoat for metals, and it's this thing. It's Vallejo game colour, Tin it's called. I used to use a thing called Tin Blitz, I think it was, from Games Workshop. But as with usual with Games Workshop, they make a brilliant paint and then they stop making it. So stuff Games Workshop, I'm buying this stuff because they just keep making it. So here we go, Tin. It's like a rusty metal, if you like, but it's very, very good for an undercoat. Now, when I start with a figure, I'm not trying to be accurate. So here's the brush that I'm going to use. Eventually it'll come into focus. There you go. Buggered. That was a Winsor & Newton Scepter Gold 2. Whatever that was. So it's seeing some action as this boy, but that'll do for putting this on. I'm not doing anything detail, so I'm not going to waste my good brushes. So let's get our man in action and get him in focus. And we're looking at painting the helmet, which is going to be bronze eventually. And the greaves, which are also going to be bronze. And then the chainmail shirt. Now, you'll notice I'm not being particularly tidy with this. When I come to paint the tunic, any errors that, like there, we just covered his tunic in tinny tin. When I'll come back to that when I do the tunic, and that line there will disappear. There's no point at this stage, unless you particularly want to, spending hours and hours and hours over detailed stuff. We're just getting big areas covered that we're going to play about with a bit of dry brushing, etc. That's going to go on to these areas anyway. No matter how careful you are with your techniques, you're going to use or get paint on other areas. So planning how you're going to paint a figure is half the battle. The metals on this one are the biggest area, quite clearly looking at this, and that's why I've chosen to do those first. So there we go. We've got tinny tin on our lad, and I'll come back with the next colour in a minute when I've done the others. Right, all the other ones have been done, and just have a quick look back at this guy. What I'm doing is using the undercoat to help later stages of the painting. So if you look at the chainmail, I haven't I've not covered it with this paint. I've not gone into the recesses. I've left little black dots where the chainmail is, and that will help later on when we come to add the metal colours on top. It's just one of the main advantages I find with black undercoat is using it to your advantage when it comes to shades later on. I get it that the white undercoat will give you better colours, but then you can get better colours with better paints on top of black. So that's my thoughts anyway. So we'll move on to our second colour, and so we've got two metallics on here. We've got the chainmail, the metal iron steel chainmail on the body, and then we've got the bronze helmet and bronze greaves. So this is the stuff I use for bronze, and you can probably tell it's fairly old. So this is a Daler Rowney Acryla Artist's Heavy Body Acrylic colour. Don't even know if they make this still. I hope they do, because it's an absolutely brilliant colour. And I bought this in Edinburgh about 20 years ago on holiday when I bought my Macedonian army and I needed some bronze. And I've still got loads of it left. And I don't need anything else other than this for bronze. Bit of paint over it there, but it actually says bronze and then in brackets IMIT imitation, number 704 in the series, permanence 3. So if we have a look at this, this is a lot unlike the Vallejo stuff that you'll buy in the droppers. This is really, really thick paint. And one of the tips that you'll get from a lot of pro painters is thin your paints, thin your paints, thin your paints. I don't agree with that at all. On some stuff, thick paint is by far the best stuff to have. If you're not wanting it to flow, if you just want it to stick on edges, then you can spend 12 hours doing some lovely blending and all that stuff and get one really nice figure. Or you can use a thick paint and get a dry brush or a drag brush effect, as I prefer to call this, to do some highlighting. So the brush I'm going to use for this one is one that the dog chewed earlier on. This was Citadel, I think. Dog's eaten half of it, but this is the end that I'm looking at. Again, there's no point on it. It's scruffy, but it's fairly large, so I'm getting a big bit of coverage. So just let me get some paint on this. and then we can start doing our work. So I'm just getting a dab of it from inside the tube, and then getting the excess off on the brush. So I'm not quite dry brushing it, and I'm not quite painting it. I call it drag brushing, which has probably got different connotations today, hasn't it? But all I'm doing is I'm just coming down top to bottom on the helmet, deliberately not trying to cover everything. And then I'm going to do exactly the same again on the greaves. And there you have it. Just two colours. The light really strong in here, so it doesn't quite show the subtlety of it, but it picks up the highlights on the helmet lovely. And that's the bronze done. So I'll come back and do after I've done the rest of them, and we'll do a bit of chainmail. So the next colour I'm going to look at is the chainmail, and again I'm not going to do anything too fancy with this. We've already got our base coat of tinny tin on, so the colour I'm going to use on this is Vallejo Gunmetal Grey, 70863. I'd prefer slightly darker than this, but I can't find one anywhere. So if anyone knows a darker gunmetal than this one, then I'll be grateful to know. And I'm just going to use this in exactly the same technique that I used the the bronze on. So a little bit on my highly expensive bit of wood. This is an old base, by the way. I'll just talk about this now. This is an old base, old wooden base that I've been using as a paint palette for God knows how many years. Again, you'll have a lot of people be going on about wet palettes, and if that's your style and you use it for shading and blending, then that's great. For war games figures, I really think it's a waste of time. You saw that stuff that I had, that paint I had a minute ago, the bronze. I've had that for 15 years, and I've got 20 years, and I've got nowhere near finishing it. So why do I need to keep my paint wet all the time and come back to it? I don't really, do I? Because it's not that expensive at the end of the day, paint, and you can always come back to it. So again, exactly the same technique with this for the chainmail. So a little dab on, clean it mostly off, and we're just going to lightly, again, we're not dry brushing and we're not painting, so it's quite a difficult technique to describe really. And just make sure you get all the bits of the figure. Shoulders are the ones I normally forget. It's quite handy actually talking through painting with this figure with you, because all the bits I normally forget to do, I'm having to remind myself. And that's it really for his chainmail. We've got paint all over his tunic and all over the leather belt, but who cares? So this effect, I'll try and... We've still got some of the black showing through. We've now got some of the tinny tin showing through underneath, but it gives it a kind of a worn look, I think. I don't think, personally, with chainmail, you need to go any brighter than that. That's the perfect colour for me. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a break in the video. I don't want to make these sections too long, and then I'm going to come back shortly once I've done all the chainmail on all the other guys, and we'll start painting the tunic.